Welcome everyone. In this video I will be recapping the slasher film, Cherry Falls. The movie opens with a young couple, Rod and Stacy, making out in a car in the woods. Rod tries to push for more, but Stacy doesn't want to and gets angry, storming out. Behind them, someone watches from afar as they both tell each other they want to be one another's first and start making out again. The person pulls up behind them with bright lights. Rod steps out to check who's there. He finds a dark figure with long hair. This person brutally attacks him with a knife. A terrified Stacy locks the car doors, but she hears Rod plead for help and unlocks them. As he tries to get in, the figure attacks again, ending Rod. Stacy tries to escape but is pinned against a tree. Elsewhere we are introduced to Jody and her boyfriend Kenny. He decides they should see other people after she refuses to get intimate with him and breaks up with her. They are interrupted by Jody's mother Marge, who takes a cigarette from Kenny and lets Jody sneak in after curfew to avoid her dad, Sheriff Brent Markin. Although when she gets to her room her father is already there and grounds her. The next day Brent travels to the woods where Deputy Mina has discovered Rod and Stacy's bodies. Afterwards, Jody heads to school where she is approached by Timmy, who works at the school newspaper. He informs her about the deaths, and as she looks around to see all the students mourning she notices Kenny with another girl. In class, Mr. Marliston asks the students to share their feelings about the deaths but is interrupted by Brent and the principal. Brent asks everyone to come forward if they have any information on the crime. Later in the cafeteria, Jody stares at Kenny and his new girl. Her friend Sandy has a crush on Mark, another student, so the girls go over to his table where he sits with Ben eating lunch. As they chat, a girl, Annette, storms in to start a fight with another student. During the brawl the principal, Tom, takes her away. Ben explains this was because the student told everyone she performed intimate actions on him and it's a lie. In the evening Annette is home alone. She hears a knocking at the door and someone claiming to be Sherman asks if her mom is home. She is suspicious but opens the door only to be grabbed and beaten. Her parents come home afterwards looking for her and find blood everywhere, screaming at what they see. Brent and Deputy Mina arrive at the scene to see Annette's body attached to the ceiling. The FBI has also arrived to take over the investigation. When they take the body to the morgue, the doctor tells them that Annette had the word virgin cut into her and the killer seems to have been accurate with his victims. Afterwards, Brent tells Mina to set up an emergency town meeting with the parents of teenagers at the school. Meanwhile, Jody hands her paper to Mr. Marliston. She gets mad at him when he brings up her breakup with Kenny, but Jody thinks she sees someone watching them, so they go to investigate. Marliston finds a cigarette but throws it. Unknowingly it hits someone's foot who is hidden. Jody asks to chat with him again and then leaves. While all the parents gather at the school, the principal tries to stop Brent from telling them about the virgins. Jody and Timmy spy on the meeting from above. As Brent reveals information about the case, the meeting devolves into a fight between the parents. Timmy takes Jody's phone and leaves, but she goes to find him. She hears the phone ring in a locker marked virgin and finds Timmy's body. Terrified, she sees the mysterious figure who pursues her. They run through the school and both crash into a trash can. As Jody fights for her life, she is knocked into a locker and dragged to a classroom. Jody awakens as she's about to be taken out and avoids the figure. She climbs shelves while throwing glasses to keep them away. She cuts a wire that sends a fake shark into the killer, knocking them down, and escapes running into her dad, but by the time he gets there the killer is gone. Back at the police station a sketch is drawn up and Brent seems to recognize who it is but pretends he doesn't. He makes a call to Principal Tom as Jody eavesdrops. He sends Tom a fax and asks if it looks like Sherman, but Tom says no one's heard from her in 25 years. Brent turns to see Jody listening and confronts her, but she denies doing so. Sandy shows up and reveals to Jody that all the students are going to have a party and get intimate so the killer won't go after them. The two girls head to school and Jody is swarmed by the students, happy she survived her attack. She sees Kenny and the two reconcile. On the bleachers, Cindy is preparing the girls for the party and answering their questions about intimacy, while Mark and Ben get baked excited for the night. The news has come to the school covering the deaths and the party. Tom threatens the students with punishment if they attend. When school is over, students are ecstatic over the prospect of popping their cherries later. Jody gets home and asks her mom if she knows who Lauralee Sherman is, but she claims she's never heard of her. Jody gets suspicious and sneaks out. At the police station, Brent tells Mina that he is heading to Virginia. She asks what to do about the party and he tells her to keep an eye on it. Jody heads to the library to investigate who Lauralee Sherman is. She finds a news article about a disappearance, but she hears something and walks over to check out who is there, but it is her mother. Marge tells Jody about Lauralee Sherman. She was a girl who claimed to have been essayed by 4 drunk seniors. No one was charged with the crime because the boys were from good families and she left town after. Marge reveals 2 of the boys also left town and the others were Principal Tom and Jody's father Brent. However, she says Brent didn't participate and was too drunk to do anything. Brent has arrived at Lauralee Sherman's house but finds it completely abandoned. He checks the basement and sees an old crib with a creepy doll chained to it. As he exits the house, the killer watches from inside. When he gets back to the police car, Mina radios him, informing him Tom wants to meet later to talk about Lauralee Sherman. Elsewhere, Jody goes to Kenny's house. She tells him her parents are frauds and then aggressively tries to hook up with him. He turns her down though because she is doing it just to get back at her parents. Jody tells him she will not go to the party with him and has someone else, referring to Mr. Marliston. Hurt, he tells her if she leaves not to come back. At the school, Brent attempts to meet Tom but finds him taken out. The killer hits him with a trophy, knocking him unconscious. At the party, the police watch over the place while all the teenagers are pairing up. Cindy agrees to do it with Ben if he gives her his CDs and snowboard. Kenny rejects a girl's offer to do it with him so that he can pursue Jody. At Mr. Marliston's house, he pushes a large crate when Jody shows up. She helps him drag it into his basement and asks what's inside when he says, "Your dad, maybe mine." She finds her father inside and Mr. Marliston knocks her out. When Jody wakes up, she is strapped to a chair next to her father. Mr. Marliston tells Brent to tell Jody the story of Lauralee Sherman and threatens Jody with a blade. She says she already knows the story, but Brent starts to reveal what happened. He says he and 3 friends were celebrating graduation when they saw a broken down car and Lauralee. He could barely walk and his friend started teasing her. She got mad, insulted Tom and ran away, but they caught her and essayed her. They then picked up Brent and got him to do it, but he reveals he knew what he was doing. Marliston starts getting dressed in his garb and tells Brent Lauralee loved him. As a child, Mr. Marliston was beaten by her all the time because he looked like Brent and tells him we have the same eyes, Dad. Marliston states he is doing all this to deprive hypocrites of their innocent children. Kenny suddenly arrives at the house, banging on the door just as Marliston is about to cut Jody. He asks where she is, but he says she's not here. He asks why her bike's there, punches him and goes into the house, locking the door. Marliston grabs an axe and begins to break down the door as Kenny frees Jody and Brent. Brent and Marliston fight, but Brent gets stabbed and hit with the axe, ending him. Jody and Kenny run through the woods while Marliston pursues. They are stopped by a police officer who questions them and radios Mina, telling her what's happening. Marliston appears behind him and ends the officer with the axe as the couple runs into the student party. All the teenagers are getting busy but are interrupted by Jody telling them Marliston's the killer who follows behind. Everyone scrambles to escape when Kenny and Jody are split up in the chaos. The teenagers all try to run and knock down Mina. The stair railing gives way, causing everyone to fall. As people rush out of the house, Marliston catches Jody and chokes her, but Kenny grabs him off her and gets slashed in the process. Marliston rushes at Jody, but she throws him through the glass door where he falls off the balcony onto the wood below. Mark checks his body and gets grabbed, but Mina appears and unloads on him to finally put an end to it. As the teenagers looked terrified, Jody and Kenny embrace. Later at the police station, Jody, her mom and Mina have covered up what Brent did to the FBI and leave. Jody thinks she sees Marliston, but he disappears as the film ends. If you enjoyed the video, please like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.